All right. Happy Monday, everyone. Hopefully. Happy rainy day Monday. All right, we're going to jump in. We're a minute after, but we've got a lengthy presentation today, as every November does. We go into our budget discussion, where all of the work that you have wondered what I've been doing since July, I can at least share it on a screen. It has been an effort not just by me, but every single director goes through a budget discussion with me, and a lot of collaboration with our community support team, our CFO, and Annika Hartunian, who I know has made an announcement or two over the years here at TSJG. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I will tell you, if you were interested, because I know you all love the numbers, if you're interested in the financials, we, of course, have rough numbers on the screen to review for October, but as of the meeting, the numbers were not finalized by our home office, so I did not want to publish something that was going to change. So as we've done in the past, we will wait for final numbers. We'll put a post on Cubigo for those that are interested, and then we'll make some available. And then, of course, I am always available if you have big questions, and we can talk about it at What's Brewing or any other small gathering where you can pin me down with your questions. All right, 2026 budget season. Most of what we talk about is what are the revenues coming into the community, what ongoing or assumed expenses will we have, and what does that look like in terms of overall operating margin. So a little bit of background to get us started. What you're going to see on the screen here is for all life plan communities. So this information is provided to every executive director by Annika and our CFO, Andy McDonald. These assumptions, of course, play into our local revenue and expenses as we go into planning. So salary expense assumptions are up 5.5%. We budget 5 to 5.5% for labor, knowing that we have to cover merit increases for our team members, compression wages when you do bring in new team members at a higher rate, what that does to positions who have been here for some period. Promotions of our team members as we grow them into, we've had a number of CNAs grow into LVNs and resident assistants into CNAs and leads into supervisors, and we want to continue that, so we budget for it there. And then any outside labor, although there's not an actual budget for outside labor, we know that we depend on them in our healthcare setting specifically. So by adding that buffer into labor expense, if we control overtime and manage merit increases according to performance, then we have that buffer there to handle any outside labor that we would incur. Team member healthcare benefits are up 8 to 10%. This information was provided that we are experiencing claims with higher severity. So when you have a team member get injured on the job, those higher costs, of course, do impact overall packages when it comes to healthcare benefits for our team members. CPI inflation really is the cost of living index. A lot of information is provided. I boiled it down just to make it consumable here. But when we look at supplies overall, all items, 3%. When you look at food away from home, you're looking at just under 4%. And all items, less food and energy, is up 3%. So we would just talk about the overall expenditures and anything that would cause inflation to those. Utilities are running favorable to budget in 2025 for all of Human Good. A significant part of that, of course, are the large solar projects that we had in our large communities. They are budgeting a 2% increase because we do know that the cost of energy is still going up, and not every community has solar, and not every solar project covers the entire use per community. So they are still showing an increase in cost there. Insurance, we're looking at just over 5%. Property coverage renewals are favorable. They face the cost of renewal somewhere around that 3% because of enhanced coverage, which is needed in some areas. Specifically, we have a community in the Oakland area, Piedmont Gardens, who just underwent a large seismic project. So there are different insurances needed in certain areas within our communities. And then, of course, there's some unknowns around the deductible buy-downs, which we're still pending. Revenue rate increases. So this really is what I, at a local level, am monitoring. It comes down to census on our campus. So residential living, assisted living, and memory support are averaging 4.4% across the organization, where health centers are averaging about 4.5%. We do expect to see occupancy grow throughout the organization in all levels, except assisted living. That has proven to be a challenge in 25, and we anticipate that going forward. Benevolence distributions are considered a source of revenue. However, the foundation has put a max payout of 4% for 2026. We've talked about that in the past, but really what that means is we have a principal value in every one of our benevolence funds that sit in individual communities. And at only 4% at a maximum can we draw interest. That way we do not exhaust or deplete the principal. So these assumptions are provided to us. So when I go in and start pulling this lever and moving this and scooting this one over, we can start to balance out a budget that works in Fresno at TSJG. So occupancy is a big source of revenue really for us. So this happens to be, thankfully, an area that I feel a little bit confident about, being in the sales department for so long, looking at what is the expectation, where are we sitting currently, and is there opportunity for growth in our community? So this is important. You can see in 2025, it's a small line item underneath residential living, assisted, memory. We were budgeted to be at 91.9%. We've moved that up just a tiny bit. So for 2026, we're budgeting ourselves at 92%. And what we know to be true with residential living is there is a window in which you can deposit 3 months before move-in, and the same thing applies when an apartment comes available. They vacate after a period of time, we refresh the apartment, we sit in deposit, and then we get a new resident in. So to really make a large jump in occupancy there wouldn't really be practical, because the cycle of an apartment actually takes a long time. So just a tiny bit there. The good news in that area is that we are already starting out way ahead of where we need to be in 2026. Currently, we're sitting at 252 occupied apartments. Okay, so really, to maintain budget, we need to not fall below 241 next year, which I don't anticipate being a major problem, but you'll see why that causes a little bit of challenge when we talk about revenue in a few minutes. Assisted living, we were budgeted to be at 93.3% last year, and we did move that up to be at 95%, knowing that that is really the area of opportunity for us. Memory support, we are staying flat. This is another one very similar to residential living, where there's not a lot of available apartments, and when they come, there's this very sensitive time frame in which a family vacates the room, a new family decides on the room and makes the move. So really, we only have usually about one room available at a time. So not a lot of opportunity for revenue there. Our health center really, for us, although incremental, really just moving it from 46 to 47, takes us from 85.2% last year to 86.1% this year. But huge opportunity for revenue. We are a 54-bed facility, so that building can, of course, ebb and flow, and we're only expecting to keep that average occupied room at 47. Parm has committed to all of us. He's going to keep it above that, right, Parm? So really, when we look at overall residential living, from last year to this year, we're only expecting 2 additional occupied apartments. In assisted living, 1. Memory support will stay flat, and in skilled nursing, we would increase by 1. As a reminder, we're sitting above budget for now in all areas of campus. This one might seem familiar if you've been here during discussions like this before. It's a lot of numbers, but for me, it's a huge takeaway when I look at the pie chart off to the right. Really what that is sharing is the source of revenue. So when it just provides a really nice visual, I think, for people that aren't really into all the spreadsheets. Just over 45% of our revenue is generated from our residential living. So 45.3% comes from, really at this point, 252 occupied apartments. Whereas we look at our next source of revenue being our skilled nursing at 28.6, and that's coming from 47 beds. So when I think about the attention given on residential and health center, those are the two sources of main revenue for TSJG. I will say, if you're a numbers person, 2024 is the actual, 2025 is annualized. So when we start budget, we're not all the way through the year. So that's the anticipated ending if we were to continue on track. So really the annualized 2025 number is where I was when I started the budget process against what the budget was for that year. So when I kind of jot down notes here, the largest revenue growth for us is going to be skilled nursing. We're expecting to see just about $450,000 of additional revenue coming from our health center next year, where then assisted living would somewhat carry about $216,000 and memory support at $73,000. Residential, again, with 260 total apartments, and we're going into the year at 252 occupied. There is not a ton of wiggle room to earn revenue there. We've actually reduced it by $43,000 because of the limited availability. And when I say reduced, that's from last year into next year. So 25 going into 26, we anticipate getting about $43,000 less in revenue in independent living. Expenses are the biggie. So we talked about where are we getting revenue? Primarily revenues coming from our health center, our residential living monthly fees, and assisted living memory support monthly fees. The expenses, of course, are where we have to start to make things balance out. Our biggest expense across campus in every community, not just TSJG, is going to be the wages and the benefits of our team members. We are in this industry, a labor-intensive service. We have team members in every capacity, providing anything from grounds and housekeeping to an RN in our health center. So you got everything in between. 58% of our total expenses go to wages and our fringe benefits, which include healthcare plans, retirement options, compensation that makes us competitive. I can show you here if my little mouse will get there. So the 46 and the 12 really are generating that 58%. The next source of expense really comes in at 10%, and that goes towards supplies. Our ancillary, actually group management fees being at 8%. So for those that will say, what does that mean? We've got a parent organization, Human Good, that has community support team members, anything from our CFO who's handling the financials in every community to a large accounting department below them to make it all work. Human resources, acquisition, so they're getting us the talent that's helping us serve our residents in every community. We have legal counsel, in-house counsel, as well as some experts that we depend on during litigation. So we do, as a community and every community, pay a fee to Human Good for this large account of resources that are just not handled at a local level. And then, of course, some smaller line items from purchase services, which would be things we bring in like contract work, our utilities, our insurances, and then kind of that little other bucket. When we talk about team members, knowing that they are the largest expense that we have to account for, a few things go into place here at TSJG. California minimum wage is up from last year about 40 cents. So it went from $6.50 to $6.90 into 2026. Looking at our 300 plus team members, we have an average team member wage of just over $26.50. Again, this is accounting for every team member, from the executive director to our entry level dining team member and everything in between. Fringe benefit costs, 26.3%. So again, we are thankfully the larger entity, Human Good, does have buying power in response to healthcare benefits for team members, dental, vision, retirement options. Really, I will say this has been something that has been slightly reduced year over year. This was starting to kind of trend on the higher end. And in the last year and a half, we've had a huge success in really offering team members benefits sooner and being able to recruit with a total package of benefits, not just the hourly rate, which makes us competitive in the market. And we were able to do that at a slight reduction from last year. Nursing hours per patient day, this goes into our staffing. So as a requirement, we have some state requirements that state you need to have so many nurses per patient in your health center per day. The state average is 3.5. That is the regulation. We, of course, have always at TSJG budgeted higher. Outside of just the design of the building being 3 separate neighborhoods, which really does not allow for a lot of shared support, kind of have dedicated team members in each neighborhood, but also just for the quality of service and the care that we're providing in that building in comparison to just a standalone skilled nursing. So we are budgeted at 4.63. Last year, we were budgeted at 4.76. Human Good as an entire organization has started really focusing on nursing hours per patient day, not a matter of reducing it to the state minimum, but understanding what goes into that. When our census in the healthcare center drops, then we need to scale back, right? You should not have an excess of team members out there if you're not having patients for them to care for. So there should be that ebb and flow, which is a very natural thing in the healthcare environment. We had not always regulated that, and in the last year or so, we have paid much more attention to it. So you can see a slight reduction in the nursing hours per patient day. Again, it was 4.76 last year, or this year right now, and going down to 4.63. Full-time team members really is the biggest change year over year. Most of you may have noticed that our dining team has slightly grown. Our housekeeping team has expanded, of course, because we are full, so we need to bring in housekeepers to clean people's apartments, dining team members to be able to continue service through all the dining venues. The biggest jump for us was in our health center dining area. For years, in fact, since the building opened, we would prepare the food in the main kitchen. We would cart it over to the individual neighborhoods, and then we had our CNAs actually providing food service. And it's been several years, at least in my time, where we kept saying this is really not an ideal plan. This can be modeled differently. So this year, we finally said we've been stable financially. Our healthcare center revenue has proven that our occupancy has been stabilized. Let's take the leap now and staff it accordingly so we can have dining team members providing dining service in the health center, which then allows our team members, our CNAs, to respond to call lights and to be providing care. So we did grow, I believe, by 3 team members in our health center specifically related to dining. But you can see 2025, we had budgeted to have 253 team members, but we ended last year, or we will end this year if we continue on trend, at 258. We hope to see ourselves somewhere around 257, managing overtime going into next year. So that does show that we are continuing to add team members as our campus grows and we need to provide additional services. Everyone in the room has already received your official letter dated November 1st. I believe we got it out maybe on Halloween, I think. This goes into effect January 1st of 2026. Across all levels of care, rate increases will be 4.2%. This again does not necessarily trend with the average. Human Good has a 4.4 increase across the organization, which means somewhere around 4.2 and somewhere quite a bit higher, but averaging at 4.4 with TSJG coming in at 4.2. As a reminder, 2025's rate increases were at 3.9. This really more is just, I would say, a refresher on what we are spending your money on. So if you've sat in a contract signing with me in the last few months, you've heard me say this, but really there are 2 sources of revenue that we manage, or I specifically manage at the local level. Entry fees as they come in, how do we use them, where do they go? And monthly fees, what is covered? So monthly fees specifically are covering the wage increases for team members, the healthcare benefits we provide to our team members, any inflation on non-wage expenses, so those supplies and food and things that we're bringing in to provide service and care. Improving quality of care and services. This could mean additional staffing if needed, if we're getting to a point of that, or training that we either outsource or send our team members off to. Reinvesting in our communities, and then maintaining key debt covenant ratios. So we are managing entry fees for larger projects like capital and debt ratio, and we are handling monthly fees for the daily operations. Speaking of entry fees, this I think is a little bit bigger on your side, very tiny on mine. I want to preface capital expenditures for 2026 as a tentative plan. I would love to stand up here and say this is everything we're going to do and give you the order 1 through 20. But the truth is we have usually, mid-year some things that have come in from residents specifically, whether it be automatic door openers was something, a year or so ago that came in from residents, where we've been working that into the project, to furniture replacements, to full redesigns or solar projects or asphalt projects. The idea is to go in with a solid plan and then make adjustments as things come up. So you'll see up here, Bistro Redesign. Bistro Redesigned was a special project that we proposed. And I say we, Brian and I got in front of a group and really sold the heck out of it. Bistro opened in 2009. It serves everyone on our campus, every marketing guest, every family member. There is a lot of traffic through that space. And we really have started to outgrow it. And not necessarily in the seating of it, but in the function of it, the kitchen, the storage, the actual equipment. So we knew that if we were to do it right, it would use an entire year's worth of capital dollars that we could potentially receive. So we went at it with a special project and really talked about the financial stability of TSJG, the amount of new sales that we've seen and how those are impacted by their tour experience and their dining experience, and how many times our residents frequent that over any other dining venue. And thankfully, we were granted the green light to use special bonds from 2021 to put towards a full bistro redesign, which would not be me at the local level deciding anything alone. We're using an outside company called Scopos that would bring to us kind of an idea based on some things that we've provided. And then we would work with the subcommittee to get buy-in from residents and get feedback to them so we could come up with a mutually agreed upon design. The truth is it's going to be a big project. It's going to affect operations in terms of where we serve food, how long that bistro is down. So there'll be a lot more communication about it. But going into 26, my hope is that we can get a plan early in the year to really then come up with a timeline so that we can use those dollars and get us a brand new, refreshed bistro that can serve us in the capacity that we are all asking for. Smaller things on here, things that are less glamorous, like boilers. Believe it or not, we have to have those. I always tell Brian every time he comes to me with a project like that, I said, it's like that time when they came and told me, well, your house would be so much more efficient if you just put some insulation in the attic. And I thought, $2,500 for something no one's ever going to see? I would much rather a brand new front bathroom, but what are you going to do? I guess those are necessities. So big projects for next year that we are looking at is going to be a healthcare redesign, which is going to be, they call it FF&E. It's all of the fixtures and furnishings on the interior of that building. The reason that's huge is that is our number one source of revenue going into 26. And there is a very high volume of guests who stay and leave on a very quick turnaround, if you would. So that building opened in 2015. So it's about time for some updates on the inside. So we're committing funds for that. Our Milano outdoor furniture and landscape, that building and its courtyards were designed and opened in 2014. So we are now getting to the point where the furniture is worn down, the irrigation needs some help, and there's some planting and flower beds and things that really could use some experts who will come in and help us with that, which we've already started getting those estimates and assessments. Smaller things like the gym carpet replacement. So the gym is obviously high traffic, but the building itself had new flooring and new paint, and that was an area that just did not get completed. New fleet vehicles. Brian's really good at staying preventative, so there is anticipation that we've got some older vehicles out there that are really at the end of its useful life. One of them actually just sits behind the health center and is used by therapy to help people learn that transfer in and out of vehicles. So it's really just kind of a model. It just sits there. But we're hoping to be able to replace 2 of our older vehicles. And then a big one really for all of you is going to be a new gym tram, which we have secured, I believe, a capital project for it, which we've opened so we can get the ball rolling. We know that there is a wait time associated with getting that. The gym tram, I believe, for the next generation has heating and cooling. It would be the same capacity of our current gym tram, but more efficient and operational, which is always nice. At the same time, just by the way, of the new gym tram, we would then be getting the replacement part, I think, for the broken gym tram. So we'll have a backup. So working on that. Again, if you see anything up here, we've estimated about $2 million in capital projects, with another $2 million or so dedicated to our bistro. And then, of course, they set aside dollars for apartment remodels, which means when an apartment or room vacates, we go in and do an extensive refurbish to get it resellable and reoccupied. If you've taken pictures, just again, that's great. Just know that this is going to ebb and flow. I will hope to come to you at a next meeting with kind of first quarter, second quarter plans based off of funding and availability with different contractors. So we will work that through the end of year and then be able to tell you hopefully very soon what projects we'll focus on in the first quarter of 2026. All right. This here is tentative numbers for October. But before I jump into that, I want to pause and see, based on budget slides that I've shared, Amy has a microphone, if there are questions that I can address before I jump into some of the tentative monthly financials, which are kind of the normal thing. What?
Did you hear me? I think I heard you say assisted living was the only area that hadn't shown growth, and that kind of all over the all human good.
Yes, the occupancy in assisted living we have not seen the same trajectory that we have in all other levels of care. So we are not anticipating that 26 is going to be majorly different than what we've been seeing trend.
Okay. I just found that interesting. Maybe more are trying to stay at home or stay in their apartment, or maybe your nurses are doing such a great job of keeping us so well in our places we don't have to move. Yeah. I don't know.
I hope all of the above.
Yes, I do too.
I will say we've budgeted ourselves 56, 57. There's only 60 apartments at TSJG for assisted living. So it's not that we're sitting vacant entirely, but I would say across the organization, we are in a better position with our occupancy than some communities. So there are, in some cases, 12 to 15 available assisted livings in some communities, which really do pull down the average. And if I'm just speaking from my sales experience, there's a lot more competition in standalone assisted living. Just modeled that here in Fresno. There are a lot of options. So when someone is looking at a life plan community, typically room design in assisted living is not nearly as competitive as a standalone, where you get maybe 1 or 2 bedroom apartments. So we are not seeing the same occupancy there. Thank you. All right, behind me are October revenue numbers. I was told by the accounting gal, her name is Jill, that I work with, that our finances have not closed for October. They're still waiting on some expenses related to team member fringe and salary, and some reclassing, which means we've paid for something. It was coded to go into a category, and then we recode it to put it into a project where there is actual funding. So our expenses look really bad. I don't anticipate our operating margin being significantly different than I share, but it's going to be different. So when those numbers close, I will, like I said, gladly make them available for everyone. Just looking at the top 2 revenue contributors, residential living brought in $71,000 for the month of October over budget. And our health center brought in $180,000 over budget. As I shared with you, that really is the source of our positive variance throughout the whole year. Parm was clapping for himself in the back very quietly. Total revenue over budget by $242,000, which is always a good thing. Looking at October expenses, first two lines are salary, wages, and fringe benefits, over budget by about almost $77,000. I did pull notes from the stuff that I could actually access. Specifically, overtime and outside labor, we had $24,000 of overtime, double time, and $13,000 of outside labor. So a significantly high month in response to salaries. Looking at our supplies budget, specifically $28,000 over budget. Raw food was $16,000 over budget for October. And we had some department operating supplies, specifically Granger, which was a 25, is that a repair? Say it again. A vendor, okay. And then parking, which we paid for the last time now when we were, of course, covering the parking in the doctor's office. So that was another $5,000 in terms of supplies. Marketing rarely is over budget, but we did have a large number of people move in. And for those of you that have utilized the service, we do outsource some support for move planning and downsizing. So they did have $11,000 of that hit all in the same month. Sometimes that's not a full month. That could be a couple months where invoices kind of just finally get covered. And then service contracts and legal fees. We had $9,000 towards legal fees. Specifically, this was a nursing expert that's assisting us in a litigation that was brought up a few months ago, and we continue to pay for outside support to get guidance on that case. And then in our travel and related, I'm going to blame Brian. That's all. It feels good. No, we had a tractor repair. It says tractor repair. It could just be the vendor that is listed, but it looks like vehicle repairs of some kind, but it comes in tractor. So again, these look really bad. I can confirm that these will be reduced in some regard once things get reclassed, and those numbers will be available once they are. As the numbers stand, though, we do have a positive variance for the month of just under $48,000. I anticipate that staying somewhat in the same ballpark. Again, just numbers moved around. Any questions about October? See, you guys didn't even miss it. We're making it digital. We're not printing paper anymore. Just kidding. All right. Any other financial questions or things that you would like to raise before I move on to additional information?
Alexis, I understand during the government shutdown that you made available some help for employees, needed food help and so forth. They might like to know that that was available.
So Human Good made an announcement as obviously our team members could potentially be affected by any outside services or food support. Really what we have is an employee program, either our crisis fund, if someone was in true need, they could apply for resources that are fundraised for, so we could support families if there was a real concern, rent, things like that, that was going to put them out of housing or not be able to feed their families. But I can't say specifically, John, that we had anyone here at TSJG, but we did make an announcement. Human Good stood by that our team members should come to either their supervisor or to HR if there was a real need, whether that be with food or with housing during that time. And I'm looking at Sierra. There was nothing here locally that I can speak to, but I do anticipate that in some of our communities that was a real need and there was support provided to them. Thank you for bringing that up. All right. You ready for fun stuff? I am. All right, drum roll. Does anyone have a drum? No? We'll pretend. I'm excited to announce that our new director of dining is our very own Amanda. You can come up and wave to the team or to the residents in case they don't know who you are. I just want to make a quick announcement and then I'll hand the mic to you if you have a word or two. When I started talking to Amanda, I think one of the very first things she said is, I don't know about like wearing costumes and stuff. And I have to tell you, isn't it funny how quickly people change, right? Because within just a few short weeks, she was in costume, and she's been a true team player. And I've shared this with our dining committee. I've shared it with a number of residents I've had an opportunity to talk to about this. So many of you reached out and really made this decision very easy for us to share your recommendations or your firsthand experience with Amanda. And without being asked, without being coached, without begging and giving her more money, when Mike departed, Amanda, without hesitation, stepped right up. I mean that, like with everything, with service, with staffing, with paying the bills. And I shared with her, I've went through a few different directors in my 17 years. And almost always a new director comes in and is like, oh my gosh, there's a stack full of invoices here that haven't got paid. Just things kind of start getting less important as someone's leaving their job. And Amanda didn't let that happen. And I'm just so very thankful for that. I know our residents are really thankful for that. So congratulations. We're excited to have you part of our director team. Is there anything you want to say?
I can say.
I'll move out of your way.
Oh, you're good. Thank you so much. I know I've said that so many times, and your support means more to me than anything. Honestly, coming from the residents, I have heard so much support. Like Alexa said, reaching out to Alexis, writing letters, coming to me, cheering for me, like that means so much. So I'm very, very thankful, and all of you remind me every day why I'm here at TSGG, and you make work wonderful. So I really appreciate that. To the to the director team, for having faith in me and supporting this decision means a lot as well. And I'm very excited to be a part of that team. I look forward to guiding the dining department to even greater things. And I've worked really hard in the last month and plan to continue through the end of the year, and then grow the dining team even greater. So thank you so much for your support, and I look forward to being a part of. I mean, I'm already a part of the team, but I in this capacity. Yes, thank you so much.
A bigger part. Thank you, Amanda. And I did make a comment about not having to pay her more money. We are going to pay her more money for doing the job, but I didn't have to entice her with that to get the work done in between. So, and she is going to be an intricate part of finding her replacement, which honestly, we're lucky to have. When someone does the work themselves, they know exactly what we need and what characteristics that next person needs to have to work well with the team and to really be honest about what the duties and the role is. So I'm so grateful for that, because you almost don't realize what people, do every day until there's a lapse in that service, and then you start freaking out. So thank you, Amanda. I did have to ask her right before this meeting. I said, all this time I've known you, can you tell me how to say your last name? Because I just say Amanda. Blah, blah, blah. That's what I do. You can ask anyone. I didn't want to mess it up, so I just say Amanda. Blah, blah, blah. And she said it's like brulee, like the dessert. How many of you knew that already? Everyone? Well, if you see, I did. It was a good thing I asked. It's brulee, like the dessert. Okay. All right. I actually took Ruthie's slides off for the sake of time, but Ruthie did have me give one message. If you have received, which all of you have, a very brightly colored survey in your message box, this is what she's been talking about for at least 2 months, asking for residents to share their willingness, whatever capacity that is, with the sales team on whether or not you would be open to showing your apartment. So many of you have already extended that offer, but I know the girls are working on building our front door club, which are our waitlist depositors. And you can show them on paper, and sometimes it really does make the difference to see it, and then to see it furnished, not just a stage, interpretation of how people live in the apartment. So it is two-sided. She said, fill out what you're comfortable. If all you want to let the sales team know is, here's my name and phone number, call me and I can tell you more about my willingness to participate, that works. But there are some specific questions about the frequency, if you want us to stay out of certain areas. But just know, going into next year, the girls have a steep hill to climb. There's not a lot available. and they have to continue selling. So anything that we can do to keep people interested in the community, even if that means they're going to wait a little bit for that style floor plan, will be very helpful. So please turn these into the concierge, or you can drop them off at the sales office, which is right behind the concierge. That would be greatly appreciated by Ruthie. All right, I'm going to invite Sierra up. Sierra is our new Director of Human Resources. We introduced her last month, and she's going to cover our new hires and the few team members that have left us since last time.
Hello, everyone. So as Alexa stated, I'm going to quickly go over our departures and then those new hires that have recently joined us so we can give them a big warm welcome. These are the new team members that we currently have in dining. We have two. We have Matthew and Alyssa. In our assisted living, we have Deanna, who has joined us. In our memory support, we have Krisa and Jenny. And in our health center, we have Amy, Lavina, and Kanisha. Over the last month, these are those that have departed from TSJG. I think that's all for me. Right back to you, Amanda. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thanksgiving is right around the corner, and we started taking people started calling for reservations before we had even opened it, and within us opening it, within like a week and a half, it was booked. So we are at full capacity right now for reservations. We've opened up the wait list. We always try our very best to seat everyone. We don't want a resident, left out. With that being said, we did open a friendship table at 11:30. It'll be seated in the Monte Carlo. As of today, I believe I had 2 seats still available on that. So please stop by the dining room and let us know if you'd like to be seated at the friendship table. And then we also are delivering meals. So every Thanksgiving, every holiday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, we'll put a little meal order slip in your mailbox. If you didn't receive one or need another one for any reason, again, stop by the dining room. Our concierge has some of the slips. You can order a meal to be delivered to your home. So we will box that up nicely, and then however many meals you'd like delivered. Ellen? Yes, so you can come through the buffet at any time. So we open at 11, and then our last seating is at 1:30, but we're open until 2:30. So if you want to come through the line and pick up your meal at any time, when we're boxing them in the back, if you pre-order, they're in like nice little containers and everything's kind of nice and neat rather than just like our to-go boxes. So either way, we want you to be fed and we want you to be a part of the celebration. So don't let not having a reservation leave you home for any reason. Just come talk to me. And then a reminder, Pete's Coffee and the Bistro is closed all day on Thursday, the 27th for Thanksgiving. And then we are closed for dinner on Thanksgiving as well. So the only venue that will be open is Speranza from 11 to 2:30. So make arrangements. We won't have dinner options that day. So if you need to order an additional meal or, kind of think ahead and warm up, leftover Thanksgiving's the best. So the kitchen tour, we still are doing the kitchen tour on the first Wednesday of every month. We've been full every month, very early on, and then booking into the next month. So if that's something that you're interested in, if we're full now, be sure to get your name on the next month because we've been very, very full. That's been very popular. Our superfood tasting is a little early this month because of Thanksgiving. So this Wednesday, we'll have our superfood tasting outside of Speranza. Our dietitian, Roberto, has kind of taken the lead on that and setting up the table and being present, creating the recipes and things like that to present the food to you. So I'm still kind of out and about, but Roberto's kind of taken the lead on that. So you'll see him during those superfood tastings. Aussie containers. So that's been a concern for a while, and I just added more Aussie containers into rotation. So I'm hoping that this will help in running out in the evening. And then we just ask that you are properly caring for and then returning the Aussie containers right after you use them. So the goal is to use those Aussie containers to transport it home and then maybe transfer it to a plate, warm it up, eat dinner, and then return the Aussie containers. We have had some containers returned with like knife marks in them. It really just depreciates the containers. They're meant to be used 1,000 uses. And right now I have a box packed with about 70 containers to return that were broken in half at the hinges, returned like that, or damaged by like knife marks or heating in the microwave. I think like burn marks or something. So if you can support us in returning those as quickly as possible, so taking them home, transferring the food into, to eat or into a container and then bringing it back, or even the next day. But we're trying to get a few more into rotation. I've also put some into rotation to be delivered. We were using a lot of to-go containers to deliver food to healthcare. So I've removed those to-go containers and implemented Aussie containers being used to transport the food to healthcare. So that'll save, I think, about $200 just removing those to-go boxes just in healthcare alone. So that tells you kind of how much those Aussie containers are saving us. So new bread options in the bistro. So if you haven't already been to the bistro and ordered a sandwich, we did finally find a new white and wheat bread for sandwiches over in the bistro. And I've had a lot of really good feedback. So we're excited that we have those options available. They're very soft. We haven't had the feedback of the bread's hard or dry. So that will be an option for toast and sandwiches. We still have the same sourdough and rye options. Snapple products. A couple of residents have brought to my attention that we weren't carrying the sugar-free mango or strawberry kiwi flavors. We are unable to purchase those at this time. So we'll keep an eye on it. Right now we can purchase the sugar-free raspberry and peach tea flavors. So we've kind of upped the par on that since we don't have the other flavors available. So we will always have a sugar-free option. Any questions so far? Okay. The Monte Carlo, as we get closer to the holidays, we are closed for a few days throughout December. The days following Thanksgiving are always very quiet, so we will be closed on the 28th and 29th. Also, December 5th, the 20th, the 26th, and 27th, for various reasons, different events or things happening on campus, but we're open at least one day the opposite day those weekends. I will put out on Cubigo just so everybody is aware of that as well. Superfood tasting, Thanksgiving buffet. I just kind of put the regular. We had a lot of fun at the happy hour. We got to celebrate Nick and Sydney's wedding. So they got married on Halloween, actually. And so we did kind of like a little wedding reception and combined it with happy hour with their favorite food and drinks. So thank you all who joined us for that. And then we have a lot of fun plans for the next few months. Quincy and I have come up with some fun plans for happy hour. I think that's it. Any questions? All right. Brian, you're up next.
All right, you guys have a good day. Thank you. So I've been told to pick up the pace because I can get long-winded sometimes. Let me tell you a story once. We'll just get into work orders. So October work orders, over 2,000 work orders. 1,700 of those were completed within the first 24 hours with an 84.2 completion rate. And for those of you who don't know, I've been traveling back and forth between Fresno and Santa Barbara, helping out our Valle Verde folks down there while they're looking for a new DBG. And I'm a little disappointed about the results that I got when I got back. So I left and I come back and there's like 7 work orders in the system. I'm like, really, Daniel? Yeah, you're gonna make me look bad? So I found that Daniel and Abby and Sherry and the whole team have been kicking butt, and we're at the lowest numbers I think we've been at since I've been at this community. So they are rocking it. Art studio. It wasn't a lie. It is actually happening. We have walls framed. I've got some plumbing in there. Electrical's going in. And so I have this magic wand dream that on the 31st, it's gonna look like something, and maybe an art studio if everything goes accordingly. The rain has kind of held us up a little bit, but we're still pushing through. So I look forward to a early 2026, like early ribbon cutting to present the new art studio. So Joe, thank you for all your efforts and picking everything out and making sure that the residents are happy and keeping your foot on my back to make sure I get it done. So it's appreciated. All right, that's all I got. So who's up next? Douglas. All right, Douglas is up. I was instructed to go fast. I was going to read your slides in just a second.
All right, just a couple of quick things. I know it's been long. Andrew Purvis, for those of you who don't know, is one of our residents here. He was a seminary professor at Pittsburgh Theological Seminary, and because I like doing this, who is the most famous graduate of Pittsburgh Theological Seminary? Does anybody know? Fred Rogers. Mr. Rogers. Didn't know that, did you? Anyway, he's doing a 4-part class on the theologian Karl Barth. It's actually, I've looked at his stuff. It's going to be really interesting. I really think you should do it. It is just 4 weeks. It will start not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday, and then end December 16th. On Thanksgiving Eve, as I like to say, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, we're having a Thanksgiving reflection time. You know, when everything has been crazy, both in our lives and the world and everywhere, I think it's important that we take a moment to really think what we're thankful for. And if we really work at it, there's a lot. Come and share those. It's just really a time of sharing and reflection. We would love everyone to come because we all do have a lot to be thankful for, not least of which being here. And then Advent begins November 30th. And there are Advent, I meant to grab one and I forgot. We have Advent devotional books. They are right across from the boxes. You'll see them in one of those trays on the wall. Grab one. We would love to share that. We have lots. Last year we gave out, I think, like 150. So we would love to keep, we got extra, and we would love to have everyone have one. It's a great way to celebrate and reflect on Christmas Eve. And that's all I have.
Hi, everybody. I've got 5 minutes, so I can talk a little bit slower than Brian. We have something very exciting, and we have a special guest. We have Shirley Schlichting to come on up and give the official total for our Team Member Appreciation Fundraiser.
I'll talk fast too. And the faster I talk, the better I'll be. I was proud last time, but I'm even prouder now. And I'm very thankful for all you residents who contributed to the Team Appreciation Fund. And I have a final total. We now have $291,889.02. So that's a really terrific number. And I'm so proud. I wanted that thermometer to overflow, and it did burst overflow. Thank you very much. And quick note, I have my clipboard with me, and I'm taking volunteer names to help out on the party on December 10th. So see me after the meeting.
And behalf of all the team members, thank you for your generosity. Shirley, thank you for your hard work. It really paid off. So Thanksgiving hours for the administrative offices, they will be closed during the day, and the concierge desk will be open from 8 to 4, so closing just a little bit early on Thanksgiving. Now's the fun stuff. So Bingo for Benevolence. So here we have the TSJG Foundation Bingo for Benevolence is coming up. The community and the guests are invited to a night of fun and philanthropy. This event supports our benevolence fund and helps our friends and neighbors who have run out of funds through no fault of their own stay in their homes. Tickets are $50, and with that you get 10 games. The game is on Wednesday, November 19th at 6 p.m. Doors open, and at 6:30 gameplay starts. We have our piano program with Talon Smith. This was rescheduled because Talon was feeling a little under the weather, but it has been rescheduled for Thursday, November 20th, so later this week, 6 p.m. here in the Talladay Theater, and the tram will be available for residents after. Next Monday, we're going to have What's Brewing with our Executive Director, Alexis Case. She will welcome you. And to this gathering, they'll have a nice time to get together, have campus announcements, answer any questions you may have, share memories created here at TSJG. Be sure to bring your favorite mug because you might win a prize. So the Thanksgiving reflection that Doug just mentioned a few moments ago will be Wednesday, November 26th here in the Talladay at 10 a.m. That's with the community coming out together to celebrate and reflect on what we are thankful for. Merry magic in the making. So pardon our dust. It's that time of year again, and we will be beginning to make it look a lot like Christmas. So be mindful of team members and a lot of decorations in the way. We're going to be getting everything ready and make it look festive and happy for the holidays. Our Christmas tree lighting is going to be Friday, December 5th. So it's going to be a really fun evening. It's going to start at 6 p.m. with caroling here in the Talladay Theater. At 6:30, we're going to move on out to the club room with cookies and cocoa. And at 7 p.m., we will have the tree lighting outside. So it's going to be a really fun event. If you haven't been before, come on out. It's a really good time. The highlight of the year, quite frankly, is the TSJG Variety Show. If you haven't been to one, you really need to come out. To avoid overcrowding in the theater, there are going to be 125 seats that will be available for each show, so you can sign up on Cubigo. Reservations will open on December 3rd at 12 p.m. Sitting on your walker and in the aisle is not recommended just because of fire hazards and safety. But the variety show is going to be held on December, let me see here. Where is it? No, that's when it opens up for the, it's clearly marked right under the variety show, December 12th here in the Talladay Theater. I'm already a little nervous about it because I don't know what Alexis is going to make us directors do. So, and with that, we have the highlight of the meeting with our resident joke teller.
This one is entitled Good Clean Living. A woman saw a decrepit little old man sitting quietly in a rocking chair on his porch, and she had a question for him. I couldn't help noticing how content you look, she said. What's your secret for a long, happy life? Well, he began, I smoke 3 packs of cigarettes a day. I also drink about a gallon of whiskey a week, eat all the fatty foods I want, and I never exercise. That's incredible, the woman explained. If you don't mind me asking, how old are you? I'll be 32 next week, he exclaimed.
All right, and that concludes our official resident forum. Stick around if you have questions. The directors are here if you were too shy to ask. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day. Thank you.